Welcome everyone, thank you all for being here. This is going to be your video for the lunar eclipse in the sign of Taurus. But before we get into the video, don't forget to hit the like, share, and subscribe button because it'll help the channel grow and for more people to watch it, because it really does help if you like the video. So we're going to be going over the summary of what's going on during this lunar eclipse, talk about the main aspects, and get a better understanding of these eclipses that have been happening on the Taurus-Scorpio axis for this past year. And the story won't finish until July 2023 when the nodes shift into the Aries Libra axis. That will be next year though. So we're also going to be looking at the ruler of this eclipse and what that means, and give you a visual of where this eclipse is happening on the globe. And another side note, I will be doing a separate video on the horoscopes about this lunar eclipse for all 12 signs. So make sure you check that out as well. All right, let's get started. So this full moon lunar eclipse will perfect at 16 degrees in the fixed earth sign of Taurus at 3 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on November 8th, 2022. So if you didn't think anything could get any crazier than what's been going on during the past couple weeks, or even longer than that, you are in for more explosions. This is not just a normal full moon in Taurus. This is going to be a total lunar eclipse in Taurus, because this is where the moon's at. The moon is over here in Taurus and the sun's over here in Scorpio. This is what makes a full moon. But because they are 3 degrees next to the north node and south node, this is what is forming the eclipse, the total lunar eclipse. So one thing I want to say before I jump back into the screen, this is happening on the midterm election day in the US, which is very rare to witness an eclipse the same day of election day. So things might get a little crazy, from this eclipses and from the election. And on top of that, the moon will be exactly conjunct the electrifying, unpredictable, erratic, liberating, and progressive planet known as the sky god, Uranus. Uranus is exactly at 16 degrees where the moon's at. So this is like emphasizing Uranus a little bit louder, It's crazy. We should expect so many changes from this lunar eclipse, like I just said. Expect the unexpected, because this energy will be unpredictable, shocking, anxious, loud, possibly chaotic. Anything can happen, honestly. Uranus just is unpredictable. You never know what he'll throw at you. Okay, so let me see. Okay, yeah. Now we're gonna talk about what the sign of Taurus means and what this kind of how this will play out. So having an eclipse in Taurus, this is about our food, our money, what feels comfortable for us, what we value and what we possess. Uranus has been in the sign of Taurus since 2018, I believe. It's been shaking up these topics. Nothing has felt calm, stable, none of that, since 2018 till and we're still in this for the next 3 years, I think. So if you think things are going to be comfortable, you're wrong, because they're not, especially because of this eclipse. So let's talk about the important aspects, because there's a lot of important aspects. So I talked about the moon being conjunct Uranus, we can see that, but they're opposing all these planets in Scorpio, Mercury, the Sun, and Venus. So they're all opposing. Okay, they're all opposing each other, and all of these guys in Scorpio and Taurus are forming a T-square to this guy right here, which we all know is Saturn. So this could also bring more tension out, could be like a dampening on what we're trying to do during this eclipse. It could feel uncomfortable, but it could feel like we're being blocked from moving forward with anything. So that's a little side note. But so they're making this T-square to Saturn, and a T-square is just like when we'll just say two planets are opposing each other and they're squaring the same planet, 90-degree angle. So this Saturn, this makes Saturn, I believe it's called the apex planet or something like that, or the important planet during this lunar eclipse. So it could feel challenging. It could feel like you're blocked and you can't do anything, like I said. But this is just activating the status. The status. I know how to talk. The Saturn Uranus square that's been playing out for like nearly 3 years now. So this is just like this is the last hurrah, though. Honestly, like this is like we're not gonna get this any longer. This is just activating that like one last time, because Saturn will move past this. Uranus is still retrograde, so it's going to move back. We're going to move past all this stuff like eventually, but we have to deal with it. This is the last, final round of what we're dealing with. So, okay, I'm getting a little off track, but so yeah, it's been happening for the last 2 years, and let's move on. Okay. So I want to talk about Mercury now. So Mercury is coming into the heart of the sun. Mercury is forming what astrologers call as cazimi. If you don't know what cazimi is, it's just when a planet connects with the sun. It's being purified, it's being reborn. The planet is basically being handed the throne by the sun or whatever. The sun is like illuminating it. It's like shining its beams in it. So it could also be like burnt out. That's another way of putting what a cazimi means. But when Mercury conjuncts the sun, makes Mercury cazimi, this is like the light bulb moment. Like something is starting to click with you. Something is starting to make sense. Something is starting to like be noticeable, and you're like, okay, I like either you're understanding something or someone tells you something, and it just you better understand it than you did like before if they told you something like before. So another time, but this is the time where you will start to understand what this lunar eclipse is being about. And I mean, Mercury, like I said, Mercury and even Venus are opposing Uranus. So this is like bringing lots of instability with our relationships and what we're communicating and what we value and how we're, processing information. There's something here that's like, we're more aware of what is going on, or what will play out in the next couple weeks or whatever, because Mercury is shifting from an evening star to a morning star. So it's like shifting perspectives. We're gaining we're leveling up on a conscious level, with our mind, like, because Mercury rules our thinking, verbalization, writing, transportation. So all of this stuff is kind of being like leveled up and more clear in what we've gone through and what this lunar eclipse is maybe telling us about unfolding in a way. So we will feel this energy, the couple days before, like I just mentioned, and then when Mercury passes a few days after. So let's talk about these eclipses a little bit more. Let's get a little deeper understanding of what this is about. We talked about the aspects. Now let's get even deeper. So think back to the last set of eclipses, especially when we had the first solar eclipse in Taurus. This was 6 months prior to this eclipse. So it's like kind of like that was the new moon like 6 months ago, and then 6 months later is the full moon, which is like it's the progressed way of like culminating something. So it's like it takes like 6 months for like eclipses to like happen, new moon to full moon, or full moon to new moon or whatever. It's there's like a story being told or whatever, and it'll continue too. So like I said, there's a story being culminated of what you planted, what you started at the end of April. So if you think back, end of April, beginning of May, maybe around that time, what did you start? What did you want to do? What did you want to accomplish? Because you'll probably be able to understand why you started that bat like 6 months ago. Maybe things are coming to like you're understanding what what you needed to change or something, because eclipses are about change. They're about, you know, letting go or and opening new doors and closing old doors. So, but you know, having this lunar eclipse and even that solar eclipse back in Taurus a few months ago, like it's not a very fast moving sign. It's a steady, grounded, fixed, persistent, like one step at a time. That's like the energy of Taurus. So like whatever you started 6 months ago might not be, you know, very like popular, we'll just say, or known by, um, like back then, but then now maybe you're slowly starting to like people are starting to do like understand what you've been creating, what you've been doing, what you've been working on, or any of that. So, but this story will continue for the next 6 months. Um, so you know, this energy is not going to be moving very fast, very quickly. It's going to be very slow. So be patient. That's another Taurus word, patience. Slow and steady wins the race. Like that's what I have here. So that's literally what this energy is about. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be very quick. You're going to have to work a little extra to maybe be to recognize your what you've been planting or working on. So let me see. So yeah, this lunar eclipse, like I said earlier, is about 3 degrees away from the North Node, which is giving us that total, like lined up 3 degrees away, but whatever, it's close enough to be a total lunar eclipse. And you know, we'll be able to see, well, some places we'll be able to see like the reddish, you know, the reflection of the moon going into Earth's shadow. And you know, we'll talk about that towards the end of the video. I'll give you a visual, but some people on the planet will be able to see this. And it's always exciting to see these lunar eclipses, and even the solar eclipses. They're exciting times. What I put here in ancient times, like people old very long time ago in ancient times, people were very fearful, you know, about these eclipses. They thought something chaotic or catastrophic was going to happen, and like for them or for like wherever they're at. I mean, back then there was a lot of stuff, you know, crazy stuff happening, but like in general, like people were afraid about that. They thought, oh, I don't want to go outside during the eclipses. Something crazy might happen or something like that. But it's like it's not at that. It's not fearful at all. It's not scary at all. People actually love to see this nowadays. Like it's something very eventful and very exciting to witness. So let's see, what else do I have? Like I mentioned before, eclipses bring massive change. I feel like I'm like repeating myself. Yeah, I was saying, okay. And okay, so yeah, it brings up, and then yeah, so like even like 6 weeks, we'll say 6 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks, a month, maybe 2 months, if that, give or take, we can start to feel these eclipses boiling up, like even before it actually happens. And it's kind of like you're boiling up a pot on water. You're boiling up, and it gets hotter and hotter, like as we get closer. And then as the eclipses, you know, as we leave the eclipse season, it starts to like simmer down. Everything's like calmer now. It's not as chaotic. So we will see in the next couple, well, actually, yeah, in the next couple months, I'd say. In the next couple months, that everything will start to calm down, and we'll be able to like understand, like we'll be away from all this like change and stuff that's been happening. So just hang on, guys. This is it. Like we're finally at the full moon stage. The moon will finally, you know, go back to, it'll start waning as it'll get to the new moon in Sagittarius, which will be the next video. So check that out once that's out, 2 weeks from now. So that'll be an exciting trend. I'm very excited to talk about that. So, but that's them. We're talking about the lunar eclipse in Taurus. So, let's see. So I've mentioned that it's kind of like, you know, closing one door, saying hello, and opening a new door. And it could be, you know, for better or worse, like it can help you later on, even if it's like very challenging, and you don't want to let go of some stuff, you know. But it's a full moon. It's illuminating. It's getting to its maximum, you know, fullness. So we have to like start releasing from this point, from what's being illuminated. So, other notes I have here about, you know, what this could be like, because the moon is near the north node, which is showing us, you know, what we're headed towards. You know, the north node is like the portal to the future in a way. In a way, it's like a portal that's just like that's very craveable. You know, we want that. We're hungry for wherever the north node's for. You know, we're headed towards that. You know, the south node is about releasing. It's about like comfortability and what we're used to, you know, but it's mainly about purging and stuff for the south node. But like the north node is what we want, what we need, but we need to balance those two out. You know, we can't have too much of the north node and too much of the south node. We have to like release some of the south node stuff and, you know, consume some of the north node stuff. But like we have to like keep it balanced in a way, if that makes sense. So it's kind of like we're seeing something, a glimpse into the future in a way. You know, Uranus is right here, so that's like the planet of the future, the planet of, you know, progressive, whatever. But it's showing that we're gonna be craving more stability, more finances, more comfort. We're gonna want all that, but it's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen quick, I should say. So those are just a few other things, you know, about what the sign of Taurus, what the north node and the moon is about. Let alone, I mean, I didn't even say this, but the moon is exalted in Taurus. The moon loves to be in Taurus, but, you know, having in between the, you know, planet Uranus, which is crazy and chaotic and unpredictable, and the north node, which is very like consuming and like it's very big and it's very full, and then like it wants like there's a lot of stuff in this area of your birth chart, if you're following that, in the Taurus area. It's a lot of things like changing, even though Taurus doesn't like to change. Okay, so let's talk about the ruler, and then I'll give you a visual of where this is being placed. So the ruler of this full moon lunar eclipse in Taurus is Venus, which is in the opposite sign of Taurus. She's right here, 20 degrees of Scorpio. So Venus doesn't really like to be in Scorpio. It's not one of her favorite places. It's opposite her ruling sign, because she's the ruler of this full moon in Taurus. She rules Taurus, like she feels comfortable in Taurus. You know, things are warm, sweet, they're comfortable, they're enjoyable. But opposite that, being in Scorpio, it's very emotional. It's a water sign. It's not grounded. It's very like dark and, you know, intimate, and which isn't bad, let alone so. But it's all about death and passion and rebirth and transformation, and it could feel uncomfortable at times, but that's just the energy of Venus and Scorpio. So but that doesn't mean anybody that has Venus and Scorpio is a bad placement. It's just the energy of what's doing. So the aspect that I want to talk about that Venus is forming is a trine. You can see this trine here to Neptune. You could say Jupiter too. So Venus is like forming a trine to Neptune. We'll add Jupiter because I want to say something about Mars too in a second. So, so Venus trine Neptune, like this aspect is adding a sense of like unconditional love. This is adding, you know, more compassion, having more faith, being romantic, you know, romanticizing in a sense, or just seeking transcendent, you know, experiences with your relationship, or with like what you value, or just what you want. You know, this is bringing an ease of like, you know, connecting to that spiritual realm. Let it alone. In another way of saying that. So like, yeah, the Venus, the planet of money, finance, a relationship, you know, connecting like gracefully with the planet Neptune, like I said, faith, spirituality, could be deception at times, but this is a good aspect. So there's nothing bad about what this could be. So, and then you add Jupiter on top of that, which is just like, they will eventually connect to Jupiter, like I think like a week after this lunar eclipse. And this is just given that, it's the two benefics. Jupiter and Venus are like we'll say, better planets. Not saying that they're bad at all, because whatever, but this is like very harmonious. Like this is very like just at ease and like excitement and just like pleasant in a way. So this could be very, in the background of all this, in the background of this T-square going on here, there's like ease happening in like what we want and what we value and what we want to connect to, there's more compassion in that way. And another side note, what I didn't have this written down here, but I want to talk about it anyways. Mars over here, it just stationed retrograde. And if you are interested about learning about what this Mars retrograde is all about, go to my Patreon. I just posted the Mars retrograde post on there, so I'll leave that in the description below if you want to understand a little bit more about that. But yeah, Mars here is squaring these planets. This is just bringing more of that tension, it's squaring, Jupiter and Neptune by sign. They're not exactly, at the same degrees, but this is just bringing more explosive energy, more like it could possibly be anger, frustrations, because that's when Mars is in retrograde. So it's like we're going back over these old anger stuff and old situations that we need to reevaluate and re-strategize. And squaring these planets, this is creating a lot of deception. This is creating a lot of fogginess, a lot of uncertainty. So I won't say too much more, but yeah, if you want to learn more about that Mars retrograde, go to my Patreon. Yeah, it's on there. You'll get that. So the last thing I'm going to talk about is give you guys a visual of where this is happening. So let me open up here. I'll give you let me see where I got it. Okay, there we go. Okay, so this is where, this is already past, but this is where the lunar eclipse, you'll be able to see it, which was this morning, November 7th through the 8th. So we can see here, like, over here in Russia, into Alaska, Canada, and like the West Coast, barely. It was kind of like morning on the West Coast, but if you were up earlier, you could see it. Hawaii, a little bit of Australia, New Zealand, all this stuff here. Like, it's just right in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. So this was like the best spot. You can also see it in Japan, I didn't mention, maybe a little bit in China. Yeah, so I wanted to show you guys the visual of that. So okay, let me just get rid of this. Okay, I believe that's all I gotta say. So that is your video for the lunar eclipse. Don't forget to hit the like, share, subscribe. I appreciate all of you. I'll leave the description. Make sure you just leave the description below for more information. I will see you guys in the next video.